The cameras caught everything, and nothing. At 10:47 a.m., under the bright Highveld sun, 3 vehicles crossed the Bapsfontein toll plaza heading north toward Pretoria, 2 black escort SUVs flanking a matte grey armored truck. The convoy was routine, the route familiar. Inside the truck sat 3 men. By 10:49, the vehicles had disappeared from every live feed on the highway network. No explosion. No skid marks. No witness. The first alert came at 11:03, when the receiving branch in Pretoria noted that the cargo, our 78 million in mixed cash and gold certificates, had not arrived. By 11:15, Protego Secure Logistics was on the line with the Hawks, South Africa's elite criminal investigation unit. By 11:40, helicopters were circling the empty stretch of road between 2 tolls. The highway shimmered under the heat. There was no wreckage. No oil. No trace of rubber on tarmac. Just a faint haze and a single-tire track veering off for a few meters before vanishing into gravel. And with it, so had the men inside, including Simon Hale, the driver who, according to public records, hadn't existed 6 years ago. Simon Hale was the kind of man people forgot easily. Quiet, courteous, punctual. He lived in a small Germiston flat that smelled faintly of diesel and disinfectant. His neighbors said he was the military type, always up early, never drinking, always in pressed shirts. His personnel file said he'd been born in Bloemfontein, but no school, hospital, or municipal record matched that entry before 2019. He'd worked at Protego Secure Logistics for nearly 3 years. He drove with precision, never spoke about his past, and refused to join his colleagues for after-shift drinks. That morning, he'd arrived at Protego's Johannesburg depot before sunrise. The CCTV footage showed him greeting David Ngoma, 29, who was forever humming church hymns and wore his security badge crooked. Behind them, Freddie Masco, 36, limped slightly, a souvenir from his days as a patrol officer before an administrative discharge. The 3 men loaded the armored truck, checked seals, weapons, and the GPS transponder, and rolled out at 7:02. By mid-morning, they had crossed 2 toll gates without incident. At Protego headquarters, the mood was business as usual. The company's managing director, Rian du Toit, liked to call himself a man of systems. A balding, compact man in an expensive shirt, he believed in order above all. His office was lined with framed ISO certifications, not family photos. When the first call came from Pretoria, he didn't panic. Delays happened, breakdowns, tire bursts, even hijackings. But when the police drones showed nothing on the entire 24-kilometer stretch, Rian's skin went cold. That same hour, Major Elna van Rensburg was called from her Santon office. Major Elna van Rensburg was 42, tall, with auburn hair tied into a severe bun and freckled skin that burned easily in the Highveld sun. Years in law enforcement had carved fine lines around her pale green eyes, and she carried herself with the tired authority of someone who'd seen too many cover-ups disguised as accidents. She drove to the site herself, accompanied by a forensic team and a field drone operator. Under the relentless sun, the highway looked empty, infinite. No debris, no bodies. Just silence and the low buzz of flies near the roadside grass. Her technician handed her a thermal tablet. No heat signatures, no chemical residue, no sign of a crash. "This isn't a hijacking," Elna murmured. "It's a deletion." The Hawks took full control of the case by day 2. The convoy's GPS signal had died abruptly at 10:51 a.m., not jammed, not gradually lost, but severed cleanly. The transponder logs showed a maintenance update from a subcontractor named Mockel Data Systems. The company had been deregistered 3 months earlier. A ghost maintaining ghosts. Elna's first breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a retired farmer named Koos Dupreez, who claimed he'd driven that same stretch minutes before the disappearance. Koos Dupreez was 68, weather-beaten, with skin the color of dry leather and a white mustache stained yellow from pipe smoke. His cloudy gray eyes suggested a lifetime of squinting at sunlight. He walked with a stiff limp and smelled faintly of petrol. "I saw roadworks," he told Elna. "Cones, men in overalls, a couple of unmarked vans. Looked official. They waved me through. I thought nothing of it till I heard the news. Elna had her team sweep the area again. This time, they found the impossible, a hidden ramp built off the side of the highway, camouflaged with a thin layer of soil and scrub. It led to a concrete drainage culvert wide enough to swallow 3 vehicles. Inside, burn marks, melted rubber, and a shard of armor plating. Elna crouched beside it, the light from her torch catching a gleam of carbon scoring. "This wasn't roadworks," she said quietly. "This was an extraction." Back at headquarters, she ordered a forensic analysis of the recovered fragment. The lab reported traces of industrial thermite, capable of slicing through reinforced steel in seconds. Military-grade material. She also had Simon Hale's employment file pulled from Protego's archive. Half the pages were missing, the rest contained falsified references. When she ran his fingerprints through Interpol, she got a hit. Simon Hale was actually Sergeant Callum Havers, a former British defense contractor with Paramount Global Security, a private paramilitary firm operating in Africa. Discharged in 2018 for breach of protocol, he'd resurfaced in South Africa under a new identity. The pieces aligned like teeth in a trap. Elna stared at the corkboard in her office, Simon's photo, the burnt metal fragment, the GPS blackout, the deregistered subcontractor. None of this was random. Someone had planned the disappearance down to the last cone on that road. By the end of the week, Protego's insurance policies came under scrutiny. Every guard assigned to that convoy had a life insurance policy amended 3 days before the heist. The beneficiary was Protego Secure Logistics itself. Elna confronted Rian du Toit in his office, the blinds half drawn, sunlight striping across his desk. "Who approved those amendments?" she demanded. "They're automatic clauses," he stammered. "Corporate risk protection." "Or corporate silencing," she shot back. He didn't answer. Just rubbed his temple and muttered something about contracts above his pay grade. Days later, at 2:14 a.m., an email appeared in Elna's secure inbox. No sender. No subject. Just a video file titled Lanceria. She watched it in the dark of her office. The footage showed a massive underground hangar. The missing armored truck stood in the center, coated in dust but intact. The camera panned slowly, revealing the 2 escort SUVs beside it, stripped of license plates, windows opaque. A voice, calm, male, British, said, "The truth is buried deeper than you think. Look under Protego's new warehouse at Lanceria." She recognized the voice. Simon Hale, or rather, Callum Havers. By dawn, the Hawks raided the Lanceria facility. The warehouse floor was false, built on a hydraulic lift that lowered into a subterranean vault. Inside were the 3 missing vehicles, meticulously cleaned of fingerprints and trace evidence. The vault's control system bore the manufacturer's logo, Paramount Global Security. Elna walked around the silent armored truck. A fine layer of dust coated its surface. The cargo bay was empty. On the dashboard lay a duffel bag. Inside, Simon's driving gloves, an unregistered phone, and a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it with trembling fingers. Some things aren't meant to reach the courts. Johannesburg just paid the price. When the story broke, it didn't last 24 hours before being buried. The Ministry of Transport issued a statement blaming technical anomalies and rogue subcontractors. Protego's CEO resigned the next morning. Elna's superiors told her to wrap it up quietly. She filed her report anyway, detailed, damning, and immediately classified. In it, she wrote, "The disappearance of Convoy 22A was not a theft. It was a controlled erasure of evidence tied to high-level corruption. The operation bore hallmarks of private defense coordination and internal authorization." Her report was redacted before it ever saw daylight. 2 weeks later, rumors surfaced of a British man matching Simon Hale's description spotted crossing into Mozambique, then vanishing into Tanzania. The case was declared unsolved. Elna stayed late that night, watching the drone footage from the highway over and over. 3 vehicles crossing a toll gate, glinting in the sun, then nothing but air and asphalt. The footage always froze at the same moment, as if the camera itself blinked. She leaned back in her chair, cigarette burning down, and whispered. They didn't disappear. They were made to vanish. 2 years later, a leak surfaced from Protego's defunct data service. A journalist forwarded Elna a single file from the recovered drive, a black box log from the missing convoy. Timestamp, 10:49 a.m. Entry, entering safe zone. No coordinates. No follow-up signal. The convoy had not vanished randomly. It had arrived somewhere designed to be invisible. Elna printed the log and pinned it beside the original case photo. The faces of Simon Hale, David Ngoma, and Freddie Masco looked back at her, 3 men swallowed by silence. She lit another cigarette, opened the window, and let the cold Johannesburg night air roll in. Somewhere, out there, Callum Havers was still free. Maybe in another country, another name, another uniform. But sometimes, late at night, when traffic outside thinned and only the wind hummed against the blinds, she thought she could still hear the faint rumble of tires on tarmac, fading into nowhere.